Tyler Meeks is a new head coach at Liberty Christian Academy. I asked him to introduce himself to everybody. We talked about his playing days and more. It's Tyler Meeks on the Sports Buffet podcast. I'm talking to Tyler Meeks. You may not really know him. He is a new head coach at LCA, so we're going to get to know him a little bit. You kind of talked about your background. You played here, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you went to Liberty after that. And then kind of to South Carolina. Talk about playing at LCA and the experience.
Yeah, it was awesome experience being able to be a part of the program. We were, we had a successful era. My junior and senior year, we won state championships. Being able to contribute in that, was awesome. We had, great players, played great places, and so it was a really enjoying experience from a football perspective, but also was very formative for myself as a young man and preparing for life. And I think football is such a great tool for training up young men to face the challenges they're going to face in life. And I think, that's LCA program has done a great job of that under Coach Rocco. So super blessed to be able to, play here, learn from Coach, be able to play here. And then my senior year, I actually, had a, really rough knee injury. And, so that was kind of like a right away, immediate, kind of a learning experience of there's some difficulties, there's some challenges, and was able to rely on a lot of what I learned having played to get through that. That is kind of, that injury though, is kind of what made me interested in coaching, is that fall. I missed the last, 6 or 7 games or whatever it was. I was just kind of standing around at practice, kind of just was there. So that was kind of the first time I got to experience not playing, but still being able to contribute in some meaningful way to the competition and be able to get the competitive juices flowing. And then, like you said, I went on to play at Liberty University, played tight end under Coach Gill. That was a great experience. Learned from Coach Gill, Coach Stam. Coach Bill Gillespie was our strength guy. I mean, legends. So it was just a great experience. It was really blessed to have that. Those years there, then came back and started teaching, or actually was in the athletic department and coaching at LCA.
High school football, did you learn more about playing or did you learn more about being injured? From a personal standpoint, not from X's and O's necessarily, but from...
I think both. I think both of them were... I think, I'll say this, I think as a player, learning to push through adversity, learning to be part of something bigger than yourself, those lessons then equipped me with some tools that helped me deal with the injury and kind of get through that stage. So I would say I learned, different things from both. I think when you're in the throes of the injury, it's hard to think like, I'm learning a lot. You're kind of miserable. But looking back on that, I mean, that was a huge part of why I do what I do now. Was that difficulty that I had to go through.
What do you think developed more character? Being injured or playing?
I think both still,
right.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly think that, the injury definitely, that humbles you.
Yeah.
It makes you realize real quick that you're going to have a terminal date you're going to play your last snap eventually.
And not to interrupt, but when you get injured, you can be at practice just because you have to be there, or you can, be at practice to where you learn.
Yeah.
Talk about the differences in that and which one. I'm assuming you were kind of number 2.
Yeah. No, it was definitely, we had a young kicker and we had a punter. So I kind of actually was like, I got to find something to be productive to help. So I taught myself the long snap and go help the punter and kicker, just kind of hang out on that side of practice. And then we had some great players that stepped into my shoes. So they were veteran guys. And so, I just kind of found ways to help in whatever little ways I could. And that was the first time that you see the big picture of all 22 on each side. So it definitely was helpful along the way.
Outside of Gill, Stam, and Gillespie, who taught you the most at LU?
Ooh.
Or who did you learn the most from, whether it be shadowing them or whatever?
Yeah. We had great player leaders, and I was blessed to learn from a whole bunch of guys. Dexter Herman was kind of the veteran tight end when I came in. He was a great player, had some really good years there. Jimmy O'Grady was a defensive guy, but he's a guy I really learned from. My first play, I remember, just wearing helmets as kind of welcome to college football. And I'm, running a simple route, and Nick Sigmund just ran through me, and that was kind of the welcome to college football. So those guys, Nick and Nicky Falau was another. So I mean, a whole bunch of players that I looked up to, and then Coach Gomes was another guy. So you asked about what adults really poured into me. Coach Gill, Coach Stam, Coach Gillespie were huge. Coach Gomes was our spiritual development guy and our chaplain. He really had a lot of had a personal relationship with him that was very meaningful, and he actually did premarital counseling with me, my wife and I, my senior year at Liberty. So yeah, I mean, it was just there were all kinds of guys pouring into me.
Did you learn more about route running at the high school level or at the college level?
College for sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, not because I didn't learn a lot in high school, but just the size of the playbook and the way tight ends were utilized. We've now incorporated a lot more of that, but that I would say I learned a lot more of that in college, just because there's so much more you need to know. I needed to know what the receivers were doing. Not that I'm going to run a speed post, but I still needed to have an understanding and know if I'm lined up in that position, here's the route I'm running. Here's the full gamut. I would say I learned more in college.
How much did you learn about what the quarterback was doing too?
I would say in college, I actually was a quarterback growing up. So okay. I was a quarterback until my junior year. Got beat out by Matt Lewis, who was he was a three-time state championship quarterback. Great player here at LCA. So got beat out there, and then that's what caused me to move to tight end. And then in college, I mean, those guys, the amount that they have to have on their plate is huge. So yeah, I would say I learned a lot from both. Coach Rocket was an excellent quarterback developer. So I mean, I certainly learned a lot about that growing up as well.
Okay, this is going to be a weird question. I'm going to take out family and I'm going to take out coaching people, but give me your Mount Rushmore of people you've looked up to.
With no family or coaches?
No family or no coaching.
That's tough. I don't know that. I think I would say the majority of it are probably coaches or players.
Where do you get motivation from in your life if it's not from coaches or family? Because a lot of people can sometimes say books or podcasts or speakers.
I'm not a huge reader. When I do read, though, it's mostly coach books. There's a great book, Bill Walsh. You got one, Bob Stoops. So I mean, they're still coaches. Urban Meyer has one too.
Okay, well, I'll change the question. What did you learn reading those books, maybe outside of football?
I would say the how applicable a lot of the football lessons are to just life. The attention to detail, setting a standard and maintaining a standard within an organization. There's a really good book, and it's written by Bill Walsh, so he's a coach, but it's written not from a football perspective, just using football as examples, but it's called The Score Takes Care of Itself. And it's tremendous in detailing how an organization should function, how leadership should function within an organization, and just giving examples in the sport. So I really gravitated to it because of the football aspect, but really wound up learning a lot just about leadership and organizational skills through that book. So that would be one that I'd point to. Do
you feel like Tim Tebow was a face of Christian athletics?
Yeah. That was a pretty cool little era when everybody was Tebowing and kneeing, and obviously the game against the Steelers was a legendary moment. Yeah, I mean, I think that there've been a lot of guys that have been outspoken here or there, but the level of a player he was and how outspoken he was, that was probably the first that I can remember like that.
So Tebow, when you're paying attention, I'll say Tebow was college or pro at that point?
He was both. I mean, I remember watching him in Florida. I think I remember when he was at Nice, like deciding between Alabama and Florida and all that stuff, and then
So who would you maybe throw up there with Tebow as a college game changer at quarterback?
As a player?
From when you were watching, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking Deshaun Watson, the era when he was at Clemson, kind of the level he took them to, and then Lawrence was to follow. I really liked watching Russell Wilson when he went to Wisconsin. I thought that was a fun offense to watch. There's been so many.
I'm looking for Johnny Manziel.
No, I'm kind of a Manziel hater.
Right.
That kind of a brand is definitely was never one I gravitated to.
But in between the lines, just the playing.
Yeah.
How good was he in your eyes?
Oh, he was as good as it gets. Just playing off schedule and being able to. I think right before that, like Cam Newton, like that one, that era to me is a little bit more impressive because he functioned within the offense. Manziel though he just had such an incredible season. Really like 2 seasons, but that 1 year where he's dropping the ball and then picking it back up and throwing a touchdown against Alabama. It was like a video game.
You're drafting for a pro football team. Are you going to draft Manziel, Tebow, or Deshaun Watson?
Watson all day. No.
Not even close.
No, not even close. Okay. Well, as a player, no,
right.
Personal things aside.
Final thing, what motivates Tyler Meeks outside of football? What are your interests?
Yeah.
Besides your family, I'm sure you like them.
Yeah, no doubt. Family's huge. I would say, my relationship with the Lord, I think that has got to be, first and foremost. Football ultimately is a platform for us to be able to pour into young guys and to be able to reach them and try to train them up to be the best they can be, and first and foremost in who their relationship with Christ is. I think that's something that's it's very important to me, and it's important that I keep that important in my own life, and that we keep that important within our program.
Coach, congratulations on the job, and we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it taking the time.